So I'm going to tie up a Strong Arm Merkin. This is it in black and purple right here. It's actually snowing out right now, and I don't have the black and purple thread, so I'm just going to go ahead and tie this in tan and olive. It gives it's the same exact thing. May even be easier to see some of my transitions with the tan and olive. Anyways, black and purple Strong Arm Merkin. I love using these things on flood tides. It's very common. The Strong Arm Merkin itself is a very common permanent fly, and I'm gonna put my own flair to how I tie it. But here in the low country, I love throwing this fly on flood tides when those fish are up in the grass looking for fiddler crabs. I find this to be a very effective fly for getting their attention when they're looking for those crabs. Key for this fly is you want the arm to kind of stick up. So I'm gonna wrap this down. I'm gonna kind of use the hook shank to encourage that claw, or the strong arm, to be a little more vertical there. So that's what I did right there. So now it's gonna actually stick up when that fly is there. Next thing I like to do, again, this is my own flair. You can tie these flies however you want. Some people do like a hackle feather or something to create this transition. Actually, somewhere along the way on YouTube, I learned how to dub in zonker strip, and I really like this stuff because basically, watch what it does here. I'm going to stick the zonker strip in here. Going to cut off the leather there, but it creates a really nice back on this fly. So let's give her a spin. Get it all spun up. Here we go. Spin it a little more, make sure it's good and tight. There we are. So there's that. Go ahead and run this up a little bit. Get this out of the way. There we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and spin this on, and you'll see that it's gonna create that like hackle effect on the back. But instead of being like a hackle feather or something, this is the real airy rabbit fur that's gonna give this fly like some cool motion when it's in the water. There we are. So put that out of the way. Just like tight, bring that up nice and tight so it all kicks back. I'm gonna add, before we go any farther, I'm gonna add the lead eye up here to the front. And I don't like using too heavy of a lead eye. This is just an extra small. I'm gonna go black. Again, when you're tying these flies, you can change up your weight. You can change up the. It's your own. It's your own masterpiece. I know maybe a permit might be a lot more picky, but this is just a crab fly that I like throwing in the grass or any time that the redfish are feeding on crabs. And I'm not an experienced permit angler, but from what I can tell, redfish are not nearly as picky as permit, so I don't think it matters that much. All right, so we've got the weight on. I'm going to hold the zonker strip back a little bit as I get started with my body here. So I'm using thread, or yarn rather, on here. I'm gonna set it in place, give it an X wrap here, so there's 2 wraps, come around. This is learning how to tie these X wraps is a little tricky, making that transition right there, but once you get it, there we go, give it one more. Now, for purposes of this, I'll turn this a little bit and kind of show. I'm gonna grab both sides of this, wiggle it back and forth, kind of bring it back to the zonker strip there. I'm gonna pull it back with both fingers and just wrap right in front of it there just a couple of times to hold it back, to hold it in place. There we go, there's one. And I'm gonna just go ahead and work my way up the body here. One of the reasons I like tying with, so you can use this this to hold this stuff back. But one of the reasons I like tying with yarn to create this body is it's just a little easier to manage than say some other than like loose fibers of other materials. So there again, 2 wraps each way, jiggle it back, pull it back, a couple wraps there, boom, we're off to the races. So there we are. We've got the body in place. Next thing I'm going to do, you could do a couple different things at this point. You can go ahead and put on the weed guard, or you could go ahead and put on your rubber legs. I'm just going to go ahead and throw on the rubber legs here. So if you're using yarn, there's these little separation gaps in there, which makes it much easier to come in here, slide a leg in between the yarn X-wraps there. So I've got it in there, tie a little overhand knot, shimmy it down, just like that. And what's gonna finish holding that is you're gonna put some glue in there, and that's gonna keep these yarn wraps from coming untied. So don't worry about making them they're not gonna hold just in and of themselves. That glue is gonna hold it in there. Work that into the gap in the yarn, do a little overhand, shimmy it down, there we are. Do that again. Do one more right up here. If things are going well, it'll work itself right between those yarn clumps, just like that's how it's supposed to go. And now let's add the weed guard on there. Dig that out. So this is a fly that I'm going to often throw in the grass for redfish. So I'm going to go with a 20-pound Mason Hard Mono double loop instead of just a single, because I want this to be a little extra weed proof. Pop that in there. I'm going to do a bunch of wraps on the back of the weed guard to get it to stand up on its own, just like that. Here we go. Slide. Occasionally, I'll just throw a couple wraps in between them, just to give it a little extra. I like my flies to actually, to hold up really well when I'm dragging them through the grass and stuff like that. So, give it a whip finish. Come on, get out of there. That rubber leg really wants to get in there. Hit it one more. Again, I'm going to hit this with some glue, so I probably don't need to do 3, but out of habit, I'm going to do 3 whip finishes there. A lot of my flies, I'll just do 3 whip finishes and not even glue them. But this fly, with the rubber legs and the body, it's just a lot easier to hit some glue in there. So now, let's see, hit this weed guard real quick. So bring it right to the tip. I'll go a little taller on this weed guard because it's going to be a fly that I'm going to throw in the grass, but generally I'm going to bring them right into that tip area there. Anyways, there we go. Let's see. Finishing touch, I'm not going to bore you with doing this, but I will put some glue right along the inside of the body here and on the head, and then I might put a little bit back here to make the arm a little stiffer and make it all stand up. I'm not going to bore you with that part. What I am going to do though real quick is trim the body to give it a little better shape. There it is. I'll do a little bit more trimming up once it's off the vise and stuff, but that is what we're trying to tie. A little crab fly there.